For our third exercise, we're going to continue exploring shapes. Now, we're going to add lots more details with the Add menu. Let's take a look. So I'm going to make a new composition by clicking on the New Composition icon. I'm going to call this one Shapes 2, and I'm going to make it 1200 by 1200, which will make it a square aspect ratio, 1:1, and it'll be ideal for Instagram. Leave it at square pixels, 30 frames a second, and I'm going to make my duration 15 seconds, just to give myself a little buffer of time. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is make a new shape layer. New shape layer. I'm going to press return, call this bezier. And in this shape layer, what I'm going to do is draw a line with my pen tool. So this is now, by default, a bezier shape. So if I click on here, you can see I get a shape. Now I have my fill off and my stroke on, and I've got it at 15 pixels, right? You can change all that and the color by clicking on stroke, right? And changing the color by clicking on the color box there. So now I have this bezier shape here, right? I can also do other things with it. So let me zoom in a little bit. If I go to my pen tool here and click and hold, I can also convert some of these points to rounded points. And then I can adjust those handles with my arrow tool. All right, so when I have something I like, I'm going to add what is going to be a feature of my composition, which will be a little title card. Now, these kinds of graphics are usually employed to accent something on the frame, right? So they're called accent graphics. So I'm going to go up to Layer and a text layer. So we'll start a text layer. I'm going to call this bezier. Make sure that this here is aligned, so I'll go to my Align menu. All right, good. So that's nice and centered in the frame. And with my bezier shape, I'm going to do something to it. So this is going to now be accenting that text. So let's go into my Add menu here, and I'm going to put a trim paths on it. Now, trim paths allow you to animate this line. I'll show you what I mean. So I have a start and an end point. So see, if I start playing with this, you can see that I can actually control how this thing comes on and off, right? So now I got a start and an end point, right? So say I want this thing to be 10%. Now with my offset here, if I look at these numbers here, I can actually have this thing travel that path. So instead of it just being a shape that I've drawn, now I get this thing kind of moving around that edge. So let's just reset. Let's have it travel the space of the line. So I'm going to put a keyframe on offset, and I'm going to move it, say, 10 frames, make it quite quick. Let's have it travel all the way through. Now, as it reaches here, maybe under, what I'm going to do is have the whole thing kind of swallow itself. So I see the end here, right? If I make the end and start, I'll put keyframes there. If I move this forward, I'm going to press Command and arrow forward. If I make that 10, it disappears, right? Because the end and the start are the same, right? So now the end kind of goes and it swallows it up. So let's zoom in and show what that looks like. In this 5-frame space, the end kind of shrinks up. So now it kind of disappears underneath there. So it's a nice little accent graphic. So let's view the whole thing. I'll press N for my end work area. So now this kind of graphic kind of jumps in the frame, right? Which is kind of cool. We can do a little better here. So I'm going to go in and fine tune this a little bit. So with my arrow tool selected, let's select the shape. Shift click on one of the points to actually expose the points. Maybe it's more square here. So it rounds that edge. Let's try something like that. There we go. That looks a little better. So now it's got some roundness and some squareness to it. And I'm just going to play with it. So you can make this any shape you want, but my little accent graphic now has got a little shape to it. Now, let's take the shape, go into the stroke, because that's all stroke. I'm going to look at this line cap and change it to a round cap. So now it's got a little rounded edge to it. Another thing I want to do here is just to animate this title on a little bit, and just to give us a little bit of emphasis as it comes on. So we'll use the transform menu here, and I'll do something with position and opacity. So I'll press U on my keyboard just to see those keyframes, and let's go 0 and advance it 5 frames by holding down Command and arrow forward. And I'm going to make this 100 so it comes on. So it kind of fades on, which is nice. Maybe alter some of the position too. So at the end, this is the center. I'm going to make a keyframe there, but at the beginning, maybe drop it down a little bit on the vertical axis. So that's pretty good. So at 2 seconds, draw back 5 keyframes and fade it off at the end there. So make that 0. So now this is our animation.